All right, so it is Tuesday, May 9th, and let's go ahead and get things started here. We're talking about the activation of some of the exams, and let's first take a look at our syllabus because we are now coming down to the wire. And so here is what we have left. So these are the activities that were turned in this week. So this is what we've got this week. So you've got a Module 8 discussion on automation, DevOps, scripting tools, and Cisco platforms. And then you've got your final group project, 869, which is the one with Yang. And you're going to create a little script that's going to fire a message into Teams. And so Lab 867 should help you with that. And then you've got the Module 8 chapter exam. And so while we're talking about that, let me make sure that the Module 8 exam is activated. Yeah, see, it is activated.
It's activated. Because I already did
Okay.
it. So yeah, it's definitely activated.
All right. Let me check and see what I did here. Oh, wait a minute. There are no available activations? 5-9. Oh, I see what I did. I see what I did. So I remember I pushed the exam back a week. And so the initial activation, the exam was supposed to be due tonight, it looks like. So yeah, let me go ahead and do the following here. So let's do create an advanced activation. And this one will be good until Monday, the 15th at 11:59 p.m. You see, Christy, how this is the default on
Yeah.
not the practice exams, but on all of the module exams, the instructor approving it is the default. So you have to uncheck that, or else after the first attempt, it's going to tell you, oh, you need to get in touch with your instructor. All right, and we'll do that, and we'll do this, and boom. All right. So yeah, I'm glad that you guys asked that question. So the Module 8 chapter exam is definitely activated until Monday night at 11:59. So these are the three activities we've got this week. 869 is probably going to take the majority of your time because that you're going to do some coordination with your group as to what you guys are going to do with your script and I think it's the netconf, and you're changing something or other. And so that's kind of what we're going to wrap up with this week are these activities here. And then when we meet next week, you guys we'll start out with the two groups, hopefully, providing a quick overview of the deliverables where you guys are going to show your, like, oh, this is why we chose this. This is why we did this. So whoever the scrum leader is, they're going to go ahead and kind of run the show there. And so that's how next Tuesday night will start. And then next Tuesday night will end with the second half of what we're going to be covering, what I'm going to be covering tonight, which is we're going to take a look at our friendly hands-on skills assessment. And I'm going to be providing some supports in the form of, and let me cover the packet tracer at the bottom there because we're not doing that. And I'll be providing some supports in terms of, hey, this is how you're going to do this, and this is how you would do this. And we'll take a look at some of the different things they're going to be asking you to do. And we'll work our way through that hands-on skills assessment to make sure that everybody has a good understanding of what is going to be required. So again, discussion topic, project activity, last one of the course. Again, this is our penultimate meeting. We meet tonight and we meet the 16th, and that is it. And then you got the Module 8 chapter exam. Remember, you get 10 attempts. Take advantage of each of those attempts. So any questions on what we have left? And so, Dwayne, to answer your question, so the feedback, the Cisco course feedback, will be activated on Monday morning, May 15th, and it'll be activated until Sunday, May 21st, or I'm sorry, Monday night, May May 22nd at 11:59 p.m. So you're going to have a full 7 days to take the actual Cisco final exam and to fill out the Cisco feedback form, right?
Okay.
So again, Monday, May 15th, I'm going to kick that open because that I can only open up for 7 days at a time. So that's why I have to wait until the 15th, and then it's due 7 days later at 11:59 p.m. And then you guys are good to go. So you'll have 7 days to take that final exam. And then that is it, right? And you got to turn the hands-on skills assessment in, which I then get to go into and place my WebEx API key into and run all of your scripts. So any questions? Again, I mean, this is it right here, right? We've got these 3 things this week, and then your final exam and the hands-on skills assessment the following week. And then you guys are done for the summer, unless you're taking summer courses.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So on the project, in the part with WebEx, are we just kind of initiating a message to go into our chat room or our team chat room after? Is it basically to signal that there's been a change to the running configuration?
That is correct. So basically, and let's pull that up. That's a really good question. So 869, and let's come down to the deliverables. Okay, well, actually, let's start up here at the objective. So you're going to verify the current running config, which means you would get the configuration, have it display to the screen. And then your script is going to make 3 changes to that configuration, right? So the first thing your script is going to do is it's going to display the running config, and then it's going to make 3 changes to the running config. And those changes could be, as a review, we could you could add 3 loopback addresses, right? That would be the easy way out. Or you could do a loopback address and then maybe add a new user, or what was there was another one that we did, and I'm drawing a blank now all of a sudden. But it would be 3 changes, right? And again, it could be something as simple as adding 3 loopback addresses, and that would be fine. Now, verify the configuration changes. You can do that by either displaying just that portion of the configuration with the filter, or you could, verify the new running config is show the whole configuration. Your script then, does a git config and shows the whole configuration again. And upon completion of that, right? Now, remember, this is a Python script. So what you could have in there, right, is you could make this interactive. You could even prompt the user and I'll give you some ideas. You could ask the user, you put up an input statement that says, what is the IP address and subnet mask of the loopback address you would like to add, right? Or actually, I should say, make it easier. What is the IP address? So you prompt the user for the IP address, and then you prompt the user for the subnet mask in dotted decimal notation, and you capture those 2 values in variable names. And then you could use those as part of the creation, right? So after the user gives you those values, you then have the code to go ahead and create that new loopback address. And so you could have it sort of as a controlled flow of the program. And then after they've entered the 3 things, and again, you could drive, like I said, you can drive the 3 things. Because if you're going to add a new user, you could say, what's the username? What's the default password going to be? And you don't have to worry about, encrypting the password or whatever. You can do it as simple as just do a type 7 password, username, Bob, password, ABCD, 1, 2, 3, right? So you do something simple like that. And then if you're prompting the user for those things, and instead of me talking about it, let's come over here, right? And so let me show you, and hopefully this is going to kind of drive it home. So here's what you could do, right? You could say, loopback IP, right? So LO, and that's a lowercase o. So LOIP. And we're going to do an input statement here, and you're going to prompt the user and say, enter the IP address of the new loopback, right? Okay. So once we have that in there, you can see in your script, right? If this is in your script, when it gets to that line, it's going to prompt the user. So I would put in, okay, I'm going to make it, 192. I guess we'll go 192, 168.33.33. And I hit enter. So now you see I've got this variable that has that string value. And then you could have, right under that statement in your script, you could have the following. And let's save myself some typing in here. Enter the subnet mask, right? And we'll say, enter the subnet mask of the new loopback, but we need a new variable name. So I'll just call it, loopback LO subnet mask. And then the user would say, oh, okay, it's 255, 255, 255.0. We'll keep it simple, right? So now I have the subnet mask as a variable, a value that's captured in the variable, and I have the IP address. So I could substitute those variable names in the code where I'm doing my netconf call, right? And the same is true of if you're going to create a new user. You could say something like the following, right? So I could say username is the variable. And then we're going to prompt the user and we're going to say, please enter username of new user. And I know that's a little redundant, but we're going to go with it. And so then you would say, Bob. And then you could have a thing for password where you say input and I misspelled please there. Please enter new user's password. And you don't have to get into the privilege level and all that. Again, it's just like simple changes. As you can say ABC 123, just like that. So now I've got a variable username that's the string Bob, and I've got the password. Whoops, sorry, hold on. I've got the password, which is ABC123, right? And so you could kind of make it interactive if you wanted to. Now, again, you don't have to make it interactive, but you could. And then you could get, once they've entered the 3 values in, if we step back over to the objectives here, right? Verify the new running config. So you could, pump out the running configuration to the screen after they've entered all their information in and it's gone ahead and created the 3 changes that you wanted to make. And then you end up here, right? So send a notification message to the WebEx SE Teams group. Like, so whatever you guys have a group chat with your team. And then there should be a message that goes to that chat, that Teams group, that room that you have. And you could remember, you could send in multiple messages. Like you could say, configuration changes complete. In fact, instead of me talking about it, let me demonstrate it. So you could say the following. So let's go back over to WebEx Teams. And I am going to be drawing a blank here. I think was one of the last ones, markdown message, right? So prompt for message, right? So you could even in your script, right, in that same script where you're prompting the user for different values, remember right here, wait, where were we at? Is this what I wanted to? Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I'm like looking around. I'm like, wait, where's the message? I'm like, no, that's right. You're prompting for the message. So you could prompt the user of your script to type in the message that they would like to type in, or you could have it fully automated so that after it pumps out the get config, for the CSR configuration, the running config, that it auto-magically, it doesn't prompt the user. So actually, let me show you the other P7 here, because the other one doesn't prompt. And what was it called? Create markdown. There we go. And so you can see how this here, right? We create the message. And your message doesn't have to be anything exotic. All it has to say is configuration changes, like R3 configuration changes are done. Script ran successfully, 3 configuration changes made. That's really all it has to say. And this code, this is the exact code that you could use in your Python script right after you prompted the user for the 3 things, or you auto-magically make the 3 changes, and then you just send a message into the team's room. Now, the tricky part, right, is you've got to get the room ID for your team room, right? So you want to get the room ID for your team room, and then you're set. So you would literally substitute your team room value in here for your ID. You would put whatever you want your message to say right there. Make sure that, when you run it, you have your access token, right? And then all of the rest of the stuff doesn't change. It's all the same. Does that help?
Yeah. So this part of the script, though, we would run that at the end, I would assume, after our configuration changes.
Correct. Because
Okay.
remember, you're confirming with that message to your room. Send a notification announcing the updates, right? So you're going to send a notification message in there that says, hey, we just changed these 3 things.
Okay.
And,
Yeah,
and
that
again,
makes more sense.
it doesn't need to be a paragraph long. Like I said, it can literally be, hey, our 3 changes are done.
All right, perfect. I got it. I think we'll see. We'll see next week.
Yeah, no, you guys should be good because at this point, everything you need to do this, right? You utilize data modeling with Yang. You know how to do that. We did that in chapter 7, I believe. It was 7 or 8. And then implement network automation with netconf. That was the same chapter that we did Yang. And then automate the process using Python. We kind of been doing that the whole time. And then the WebEx team stuff we just did last week. And that right there, this code right here that I demoed last week and that we just looked at, that is the exact code with the exception of the room ID and the access token. And obviously, you're going to put a different message in there. But that's all you need. I mean, that's literally all you need right there. And you just incorporate that in with your script that is making the 3 changes and then doing the get config, and it's showing the configuration to the screen, hopefully using pretty print with JSON and indentation, or the XML library, right? Because the netconf is going to give you XML back instead of JSON. I apologize. So, but you still do the pretty print with the XML thing. And let me again, instead of talking about it, which netconf isn't there? Yeah, okay, there it is. I was like, wait a minute, where did my netconf directory go? All right, so in here, yeah, Holy Toledo. Which one of these to look at? Let's try 004. I think this is probably, yeah, here we go, right here. And so how do you make the print of your output with XML pretty? That is the code right there. And again, remember the netconf and in fact, this right here, in fact, this is so how ironic I pull this up. This is the exact code you need to print the running configuration of the CSR1KV. So there's your, so that code right there that I have highlighted, with the exception of the IP address, which will change for you guys, that is literally verify the current running configuration. You can verify the changes and then verify the new running configuration by using that code right there. Because when I run this code, Python 3.0.0.4. It is going to print nice and pretty. There you go. The configuration for my CSR1KV, which is still miraculously up and running. So, but that's it. That's it. And that's the code that you need for those three steps. And really the two that are next to each other here, these two right here, I'm good if that's you do that one time. Display the running config after the three changes, right? And that is the exact code. Let me put it up here one more time. That, if you got your cameras or you're doing a shift command 3 to take a screenshot with a Mac, that is the code. Again, IP address is going to differ because your CSR1KV has a different IP, but that right there satisfies the first, third, and fourth requirements.
Also,
So
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Anj. I'm sorry.
I just wanted to ask if like after doing this code, we just have to add the other part of the WebEx code to the same code. Like
Yeah. I mean, so
Anj, I sent you guys the link to my GitHub that had like it has the first part of it. It has the configuration and our changes. I think the next
okay.
thing we need to do is just the WebEx. I just wanted to make sure we knew where it needed to go in the code and that we were doing it. Like I was a little confused when I read the project description because it was saying something about configure the router in WebEx. I was getting a little confused if we were just sending a message that the configuration changed. I don't know if I was reading it wrong or not, but I got a little confused when I was reading it.
yeah, no. So it's literally you're making the three configuration changes using netconf and the Yang data models. And again, that could be loopback addresses. And I'll give you an example. My VNC viewer just crashed. So let me refire the remote connection up here. So yeah, you're just making the three changes. And then you are, type this in real quick. And then you are, so literally you would run, and you only need, remember, that code right there, right? You really only need that one time. And so right out of the gate in your program, you should have all of this code right here. And then right after this line right here, the print XML DOM mini DOM, you would have the code to make the three configuration changes. And then right after that, you would have these two lines right here again, because those are going to be the same two lines. It just displays the running config. And then after those two lines, a second time, after you put these two lines in a second time to display the running config after you've made your three changes, then the last code that you have is, or here, let me back out of here. The last code you have is, and I can't remember the number I was, yep, P7 dash, oops, sorry, P7 dash create. Is that right there. And the import, you could put the imports at the top, and that's typically where the imports go. But then there you go. You have the room ID, whatever the message is that you want to say, like, hey, we configure these three things. Make sure that your when you're using your access token, I'll put mine in there when I grade it. And then the WebEx URI, the headers, the params, I mean, all that stuff stays the same. And that's it.
Professor, what do we have to turn? Does everyone turn in the PDF to you or just the Scrum leader?
Yeah, so as long as the Scrum leader turns it in, everyone in the group is going to get credit.
Okay.
Or as long as someone turns something in from the group.
Okay. And do we need to send our code with the PDF, or are we just going to do that when we present, like show that when we do the presentation?
You're going to demo. Yeah, so you're going to live demo everything.
Okay.
Yeah, you're going to pull
your Scrum leader of our team might not be able to do that because her computer is taking a hit from these two virtual machines.
Yeah. Understandable. Understandable.
All right, I'm good. I think we have the direction we need.
All right, perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, you guys are very welcome. Because I know there's so many moving parts in the course, and then and this is why tonight we're going to spend some time taking a look at the final the hands-on skills assessment, because that can be a little bit tricky. So we're going to walk through that, and those that are here and those that put some time in and view the recording are definitely going to benefit from that. So what are any other questions that you guys have on the team project? Anything else? All right. Okay, so good. So I will take that as a good sign. All right. So, and this directory I'm going into here, which what did I call it? HOSA. All that stands for is hands-on skills assessment. So I just created this little directory here, and let me take a step back. So for the hands-on skills assessment, at the very end of the course, right here, right, and this is going to be pretty involved, which is why we're going to spend some time taking a look at it. We're going to talk about this for a second. So you've got your DevNet skills assessment Word doc file, right? So if I was to click on that, and what this is going to detail is everything that you're going to be required to do and then turn in. And you can see here, there's questions here, right? Locate and copy your personal access token. What's the lifetime of your token? Well, we know from the WebEx stuff we talked about last week, and let me throw it out there. What is the duration of the WebEx token? Who
12
remembers?
hours.
12 hours. You got it. So you would come in here, you download this and you would type in 12 hours right there. Boom, full credit. Find the URL that will list all the rooms to which you belong. Record the HTTP method and URL. Well, how would I do that? Well, you could go to webex.com. And this is something that we took a peek at last week. And okay, let me get logged in here real quickly and sign me in. Come on, WebEx. There we go. So my recommendation would be to come back to the documentation link here at the top, scroll down to the API section, and you could take a look at, and in fact, we kind of know, the WebEx APIs, and you can see underneath here in the WebEx APIs, when you click on that, there's my new bearer token. And then we've got all this stuff here, right? FedRAMP meeting, devices, admin, whatever else is going on. You could even take a look at the full API reference if you needed to. But we're interested in, where did rooms go? I'm missing rooms here. Or did I get I think I maybe got there like this last week. So people and rooms. So you can take a look at rooms. And you can see here, right, that, okay, well, here I can get a list of rooms. Let me click on this and see what this means.
Medium.
Right? So here's where you might come. And so then this would be this link right up here. Or I'm sorry, what they're asking you for is the link here, right? So it's the get list rooms, but you could grab the whole thing, right? And that's the link to the API on the server that would then give you the rooms. And see, list rooms associated with team by ID, right? Or whatever the case may be. Or you could look at people, right? And I think this is actually me. And this gives you your own details, right? So this, if there's a question about how do you get your details, then you could look at that here. So definitely come in and take a look at the documentation, because it's going to give you a really good idea as to and there's the room details, the meeting details, list rooms. I'm drawing a blank on, I thought it was under people. Yeah, and it's actually in the lab as well when it talks about getting the rooms that you belong to. So, good question. And that's, oops, let me fire back here. Sorry, I was going to transition back to right here. And again, you can see now, so here's where they get into investigate locations key for the MapQuest API. So you're going to get some, you got some MapQuest stuff you're going to be doing, right? And we've already done some MapQuest, so you should be good. And you can see here, they're looking for the latitude and the longitude. And the ISS, and I think this is the same thing as step 4D in the lab 867, where they're no longer showing you the past times anymore. So, you know,
I started working on this, and I got to this point where I kept getting like a 404 error, and it was saying that this wasn't available. It was no longer available.
yeah, and it wasn't last semester, and I apologize. I had completely forgotten about that. Completely forgotten about that.
There's still a URL that I found that was like API open notify ISS pass JSON lat and lon, and it had like a place where you would put your latitude position and your longitude position.
Yes.
Which I got from just right up above. But no matter how I put them in, I tried all kind of different things trying to enter them in, and it said that it didn't. I never got anything that worked.
Yeah. So,
and I think it said it was like the 404 error, I think.
yeah, and again, depending on what it is you were trying to find there, like here's the JSON data, but it'll show you the lat and longitude, but it won't show you the times anymore. And so here's how you can pull that information. Now what you would need to do, and let's talk about that. That's a good question, Dwayne. So let me grab this here and let me see if I can finagle. Where are we at here? Okay, there we go. All right, so let me open IDLE up, right? So here's IDLE, Integrated Development Learning Environment. And let me see if I can paste. Okay, beautiful, right? And hopefully, can you guys see this okay? Is it with, whoop, not anymore. Okay, there we go. So you should be able to see that. In fact, let me just blow this up and make it full screen here. And I never checked to see. You should be able to do on the Mac. No, it doesn't like that. Nope. All right. So let me see something real quick. I'm trying to make that a little bit larger, and I don't use IDLE too often, so I don't remember. I don't know if you can make that any larger. Okay. All right. Well, hopefully that's visible there. So all I did was take the output that was there, and it's JSON data, right? It's a JSON object, but it also coincidentally is a Python dictionary. So we could say ISS lat longe or something, create a variable name, right? And you could assign that value. So you could do an HTTP GET request to that URL to get that JSON, to get this JSON data right here. And all you'd have to do is capture that HTTP GET request as an HTTP response object. So again, so I'm just calling it ISS lat long, right? That's my variable name. So at this point, and let me go ahead and oh, I hate when it does that. This is the one thing I don't like about idle is I hit enter. If you hit enter too quickly or return too quickly, it resets the session on you. There we go. All right. So my first question to you guys is how do I get the longitude out of here? How would I parse this and get the longitude? So if I say ISS lat long, whoops, wanted to pick that. I get this Python dictionary back. How do I use the key value pairs to pull out and parse the data I want? So what do we think? Well, first, let me ask you this. What is the first key value pair that you see here? What do you think? And you could drop it in the chat if you'd like.
The longitude, one, and then 115.
So is that the first key value pair?
No. The ISS position?
Perfect. So the ISS underscore position, let me highlight this here. That is our first key. And you can see, because remember, the keys and the values are separated by the colon. So ISS position. So what would I have to type in, Christy or Dwayne or Anj, or I think it was Nathan is in here. What would I have to type in? What do I type to get the value for that key?
Import.
So it wouldn't be an import. And I'll give you a hint. This is how it's going to start. And then how do I get the value for that key? And if you're wondering, that is the value. Remember, the value goes all the way up to the comma, right? And then we've got our second key, and then value, and then our third key and value. So how do we reference the key to get the value? What do we think? What ideas do you have? What does Chat GPT say?
I think it's parentheses and self and the position of the value.
So you say that again, Anj?
I think it's parentheses, like
So you
bracket.
think it's like that?
No, not that one.
This one.
Parentheses.
Oh, parentheses,
So,
like that.
yeah, and self.
And
I think
self,
self.
like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. I'm just giving a guess. And comma and the position of the value you're trying to get.
All right. So that's not that bad of a guess, right? Remember, self would be if we were doing kind of object-oriented type programming. And we'd find this in a class. So let me see if let me ask you guys, do you think that what do you guys think that's going to do? If you had to guess. So I'm basically saying, that's my variable, ISS lat long. And the object that variable represents is a dictionary And so then I put in the name of the key, right? And if I put in the name of the key inside the brackets, not the curly braces, but the brackets, it gives me the value. Does everybody see that? And so let me get where's my drawing tool at here? Where's the drawing? Oh, did I go right by it already? There it is, ink to go. All right, so let's pull the drawing tool out here. So here is the value. It's too thick, hold on. Let's make that a little thinner. There we go. So here is the value for, and so we'll put V. So here's my value for this key. And the key is ISS underscore position. So when I reference it like this, using my variable name, I reference the variable, or the key, I get the value, right? So what would I type in to get the value of the second key? So what's the second key here? So in that dictionary, if ISS underscore positions are first key, what would the second key in here be? Remember, there's 3 keys.
Second key is timestamp.
Exactly. So what do I type in here, Christy?
I put it in the chat, but I don't know if you got it.
Oh, okay. I just see it lit up there. So we put
not
this in
timestamp.
right.
I spelled it wrong.
Oh no, you're fine. You're fine. So timestamp, and then we get the value, right? We put in the key in the dictionary, and we get the value. So what's the third and final key that we could take a look at here? What do you think? Nathan, you've been awfully quiet. What do you think?
Message is the third key.
Say again?
Message would be the
Perfect.
third key.
You got it. And so if I reference the key, I get the value, right? So those are the 3 keys. ISS positions the first key, and there's the value that's underlined here. And obviously this has got the values that we're interested in, right? The second key is timestamp, and the third key is message. But let's take another look here. Let's take a closer look, right? The first key gives us this value, and that value is another Python dictionary. So if I do, I can't do the recall there. So if I say ISS lat longe, and we look at ISS underscore position, right, that first key, the value that we get back is a Python dictionary. So how many keys are in that dictionary? What do you think? How many keys are in that dictionary that is the value for the key ISS underscore position? How many key value pairs do you see there separated by a comma? All right, somebody's dumping it in the chat. Christy says 2. She is correct. What is the first key? Anybody? Or what are the names of the 2 keys?
The longitude and the latitude.
Perfect, Dwayne. Well done. So if this command, right, if this, oops, sorry, went backwards there, lat long. If this is going to show me if that shows me the dictionary, what would I add on to the end of this to see the longitude value? So again, if I ran that command right there, it returns this dictionary. How can I continue this command here by referring to another key in that dictionary that it prints out? So what would I do if I wanted to see the longitude? What do you think? If you had to guess, because again, remember, all we need to do is refer to the keys to get the values. Perfect. Christy, excellent work there. We just put in the other key, longitude, the name of the other key, right? So if I wanted to see the longitude, I just do that. If I wanted to see the latitude, and this one should be self-explanatory, latitude, longitude, I would say the following: ISS underscore position. And that would return to me this whole dictionary right here, right? That just has two more key value pairs. And so then to drill down or parse the data down, I just put in the next key that's in that dictionary. And that gives me my latitude. Now, here's where, because again, I'm in the interactive interpreter here. And so this is what we'll close with before we go to our break, is I'll close with the following. So I'm in the interactive interpreter, right? But you might want to run these. You might want to use those values, right? Because right now I'm not capturing those values for latitude and longitude in any variable, right? So to do that, I could do the following, right? Let me say, I'll keep it simple. What's the first one? Latitude or longitude. Longitude, right? So I would say longitude is going to be assigned the value of whatever ISS, lat, long, and we're going to say ISS underscore position. Whoops. And then longitude, right? And I'll hit enter. So now when I type longitude, I have the value. So maybe you have a print statement that you want to use to say the following, right? You could say print the current longitude of the ISS is, and we'll even go all out here. We'll do the format method of the print function, and then we'll say dot format. Whoops, let me make sure I spell format right. And then we simply put in the name of the variable name that we want to have printed up there. So now that I've captured the longitude inside of a variable, I can use it in print statements. And then we get that. And the same is true for latitude, right? Or actually, I'd have to capture latitude. So I'd say latitude is going to get the value of ISS, lat, long. What am I doing here? ISS position, ISS underscore position, and whoops, close it, open it, quotes. Oh, there we go. So the ISS position and then latitude. And so now when I type in latitude, I've got this variable here that represents the latitude, right? So maybe I want to have a print statement that follows it says, the current latitude of the ISS is And then we'll throw our little placeholder in there, right? Open curly brace, close curly brace, close the quotes, use our format method from the string class, and put in latitude. And there we go. Or maybe you want to combine those into the same sentence. So you could say the following, right? You could do something like this even. I could say print and we'll say, whoops, sorry, click me out of there. The current longitude, longitude of the ISS is open brace, curly brace, right? Just a placeholder in this little string we're working with here. And the latitude is, and then another curly brace placeholder, right? And then we use our format method here, and we come out and we say longitude, comma, latitude. So you could dump it all on one line if you wanted to. So you could have two lines, you could have a single line, right? But the key is that once you're able to get this dictionary from with an HTTP GET request, right, using the requests library, once you capture this output here in your Python script, then it's just a matter of parsing the data. And let me get that writing off the screen there. And then it's just a matter of parsing the data. And here's how you can parse all of that data so that you can get the longitude and the latitude. Does that make sense? Everybody kind of following that there? Does that help out? Again, if you go back to module 4, that is where you would see how you import the request module and how you would do an HTTP GET. And we're going to go ahead and paste in our lines. All right, so these are the first 3 steps of the hands-on skills assessment. So we import the libraries, right? So let's recap what we've done here. So we import the libraries, right? We complete the if statement to ask the user for the WebEx access token. Again, if they don't have one, that's okay. They'll end up using the hard-coded one. That's why we have the if and the else. And then we're going to provide the URL to the WebEx Teams Room API, which we do with our access token. And we run our GET request. And then we check to see, is the status code anything other than 200? If it is, we raise an exception. The hope is that it's a 200. And then we're going to come down here and print for step number 4 of the lab, or of the hands-on skills assessment. You would create a loop to print the type and title of each room. And so this is the code to do that. So let's run this code by itself without all that other code that hasn't been updated with all that replace me stuff, where it always says replace me. And let's see what we get. We should get a nice printout of a whole bunch of Teams rooms. So it looks like we might have another end of line issue here. Yeah, it does not like the cut and paste. It just doesn't seem to respect the end of line. So let's see if it did that with the access token. All right, so the end of this line is there. And the end, yeah, and that's exactly, yeah, that's exactly what happened. So, whoops. Did not want to do that. All right, I think I got it joined up. Okay, I think I joined the line there. So definitely something to be aware of with, and if you're doing this in VS Code, you should have a much easier hike. All right, so let's run it. And now it doesn't like status code. Boy, oh boy, we are just like a litany of typos here this evening. All right, so we're looking for status code. And that should be, this should be fine. If not, r.status code, raise exception. Oh, here, oh, it's, so again, you see what happened. I cut and pasted and anything that wrapped got hosed up there. Okay. So that status code's taken care of. I'm going to recap here in just a second. Let's make sure we got working code, Python 3, new stuff.py. Do you want to use the hard-coded WebEx token? No. Oh my God, I don't believe I just did that. Hold on. And of course, there we go. All right, so I want to use the hard-coded token. So now, there we go. Okay. So you can see here, it prints out the type of the room, whether it's a group or direct, and it types out the name of all the rooms of which I'm a member. All right, so let's recap here before we cut out for the night and take a look at our final product. We'll say more new stuff. So this is the first 4 steps of the hands-on skills assessment. So what do we open up with? We open up with the importation of the request library, time, JSON, and the ISO 3166. Haven't used ISO yet. We will soon, though. Complete the if statement to ask the user for the WebEx access token. So again, if they enter in a little uppercase N or a lowercase n, we are prompting them. Again, it's asking, do you wish to use the hard-coded token? So if you say, no, I don't want to use the hard-coded token, well, it's going to ask you to enter a token in. If you say anything other than lowercase n or capital N, it's going to use this hard-coded token, right? And then what does it do? It runs a GET request of the WebEx API version 1 rooms with the authorization and access token information from above. And then it checks to see, did we get a successful status code? If we did, okay, great. We're going to print a list of rooms. If we didn't get a 200, it's going to raise an exception telling you incorrect reply from WebEx Teams API. Here's your status code. And in fact, I think we saw that when I just hit enter and gave it a blank key. And then it prints out the rooms and the types. So there are the first 4 steps in the hands-on skills assessment. And I'm going to hit, oh, that's interesting. Oh, okay, because if you hit anything other than, yeah, even if you hit enter there, like if I hit enter right here and I don't type Y or N, it's going to use the hard-coded token. But I'm going to say no, and watch what happens when it says, what's your access token? I'm going to hit enter. So we have no access token. So we should see an exception, and there it is right there. Incorrect reply, status code 401, and then it gives you all of the information on the error. So that shows that that code does work, right? That code does work. All right, so those are the first 4 steps in the hands-on skills assessment. Any questions on anything? You guys are going to be busy this week. And when we sync up next week, I'm going to complete the hands-on skills assessment. We're going to take a look at some of the other steps that are required. Any questions you guys have, or are we good to go for the week? All right, well, let me go ahead and stop the record. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say I'm all good.
All right, let me go ahead and stop the recording here.